Hey guys, this is Carmen from Carmen Eagleman Fitness, and I just wanted to jump on and go live and talk about how to kick sugar. This will be part one in this series. I get a lot of questions about sugar. We all know it's bad for us, right? That's a no-brainer. But did you know that the average person consumes about 56 teaspoons of sugar in a day? And that's usually in the form of refined sugar, which is basically what you would call empty calories because it has no nutritional value whatsoever, right? So that's added sugar, 56 teaspoons. Did you know that the recommended amount is 6 teaspoons a day? So we're consuming over 50 teaspoons more than what we should. And that's on top of the normal sugar that you get in your foods, natural foods like fruit and veggies and some of your starchier carbs and things like that. So I'm going to give you some reasons why sugar isn't good for you, even though you probably know some of them, and why you want to limit the amount that you're consuming on a daily basis. So number one is, again, added sugar contains no nutritional value whatsoever, and it actually causes heart disease. It's high in calories and low in nutrients, right? The whole low-fat diet was created because they thought fat was bad, and so when they did that, taking the fat out of things, which fat tastes good, they replaced it with chemicals and added sugar. And we actually have a lot of added sugar in items that you probably wouldn't even think to check, or why there shouldn't even be any in there. So new studies have actually shown that healthy fats are good for you. So, you know, those egg yolks that they try to say that is high cholesterol, those are good for you. You should eat the yolks. Sugars are high in fructose and can overload your liver. So all sugar is broken down into either glucose or fructose in our bodies. Glucose is natural, and we'll get that. It's naturally occurring in our body, and fructose is not. And fructose is processed through our liver, and so when it gets processed through that way, it's turned into glycogen. And our liver and our muscles can only hold so much, about 500 grams a day. And so what happens is when you exceed that, which most people do, because again, the average person consumes 56 teaspoons of added sugar a day, it gets stored as fat. And so this is, that's obviously not good, right? The third reason would be is that it causes insulin resistance. And so what happens is sugar is toxic to our bodies. We don't need it because, again, it has no nutritional value whatsoever. And so what it does is our pancreas creates insulin because when we take sugar, it causes a rise in our blood sugar levels, right? So our body creates insulin to bring it down so that our sugar levels aren't so high. What happens is when you continuously overconsume sugar, and our body goes into survival mode. It protects itself, and so what happens is our cells become resistant. So you become insulin resistant, which is kind of like the stepping stone to diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and kind of honestly why you see such a high rise in diabetes, I feel like, because compared to our grandparents' age and the amount of sugar that they consumed to how much is in our processed foods, fast foods, and just the stuff that we eat daily now is so much more. And so you've seen a rise in diabetes, type 2, and other autoimmune diseases. It's also another reason why diabetics aren't just overweight. You see a lot of skinny people that are diabetic because it doesn't really have to do with your weight. It has to do with what you're eating and your insulin your insulin levels. So the fourth one is it causes you to crave more sugar. So when you eat sugar, it leads to releasing a big dopamine release. Kind of similar, you probably heard that it's similar to cocaine, right? It's almost more addicting than cocaine. And it's true. The more sugar that you eat, it causes your body highs and lows, right? Like you get the high, the energy from the sugar, and then you come down off of it and you crash. And so your body then craves more because it wants more energy, right? So hence why it's addictive. So you want to stay away from eating more because you don't want to crave more. So kind of a twofold thing, right? And then sugar is also a big contributor to obesity, both in kids and adults. Again, think about how sugar is literally in all processed foods, in foods that it shouldn't be, like ketchup. There's a lot of hidden sugars, and that I will address later in the series. And so in foods that you wouldn't even think about. Now think about how much of those foods the average person is consuming. Crazy, right? And then think about what your kids are eating too, because I know as a mom, like convenient foods, if you don't know better, whatever, all the sugar that's in there. So and it's really, our kids' bodies are so sensitive to that thing as well, and their insulin levels and everything else. So think of the type of foods and the sweetened beverages and everything that we consume and our kids consume. So you want to, again, that would be your fifth reason as to want to stay or limit the amount of sugar that you're intaking. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a sweet tooth. I love sweets just as much as the next person. But food is meant to be enjoyed, totally, 100%. However, I'm a firm believer in balance, right? In I'm a firm believer in balance, in taking those in moderation, enjoying sweets in moderation. I'm also a believer in doing it with natural sweeteners and ones that don't raise your insulin levels so high. It's something that a rule that I do with my girls and me. I try to limit our refined sugars intake. And the reason, one of the reasons being that is because I have personal experience of how terrible a disease diabetes is. My father actually passed away when I was younger due to complications of diabetes and not taking care of himself. So that is my driving force of teaching my girls to have a healthy relationship with food and eating clean. And also why I like to eat clean and why nutrition is my passion, because I don't want them to experience something like that what I went through with losing my dad. So anyways, those are my 5 tips as to kicking the sugar out of your life or reducing the amount of intake. This is Carmen from Carmen Eagleman Fitness, and thank you for tuning in tonight. And I would love to hear your feedback. Please leave any comments down below, and I will be sure to answer them. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.